As an Alaskan, I've been very concerned about the Jones Act for quite some time, and a lot of people don't know what the Jones Act is. It's actually something that dates all the way back to the early 1900s, and it was a law that was basically written to protect American shipping companies. We're talking about the old-fashioned load the crate onto the boat with the sails and take it across the ocean shipping company. This is what it was written to protect. And it's interesting to me to see how many people treat it, well, it's the law, so we have to obey it, when it is archaic, it's outdated, and it is hurting your fellow Americans. And I want to point out a couple of different things. It came under the spotlight this last week with Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is also impeded by the Jones Act. The main portion of the Jones Act says that basically any shipping between American ports must be done by American ships staffed by American crews. And a lot of people waving the flag lately have been there, yay, pro-America, the American jobs, et cetera, et cetera. Well, when you have these other little provisions, which are also in the Jones Act, which deny ports like Puerto Rico and Alaska from taking international business, then we find ourselves completely hamstrung by this little law, because now absolutely everything has to come through the United States to get here. And when we're talking about basically 90-some% of our food comes in through the port of Anchorage here in Alaska. If something ever happened to that port, whether, North Korea or an earthquake or whatever else, your fellow Americans living in Alaska would starve. A lot of them would anyway. Some of us, of course, have been prepping for this possibility. We have stored food. Some of us are better fishers than hunters. We know people who are better hunters than fishers. We trade. Some of us will survive. However, when you look at how the president, looking at the situation in Puerto Rico, he actually had suspended the Jones Act for dealing with the hurricanes in Texas and in Florida. He was very slow to act to suspend it for Puerto Rico. Why? Well, probably because of this little provision about the international ships. You see, because some of that aid could have come in to Texas and Florida through international ships, he suspended the Jones Act so that American ships could do it. You see, how embarrassing would it be if the only aid coming to major American ports was international aid? The fact now that he suspended it for Puerto Rico, I'd like to call on the president and on Congress, on my fellow Americans, let's not just suspend the Jones Act, let's eliminate it. I mean, while we're at it, there are a bunch of other laws that we can get to that I'd like to see eliminated, but let's start with the Jones Act. And let's just see what happens when we don't not just suspend, but we just eliminate this law and say, you know what? You've got a port. Feel free to trade with anyone, anywhere. Make your own deals. Is that possible? Can we trust our fellow Americans to do that? I think we can. If you'd like to engage me on this topic, send me an email, steve@radiofreespeech.com.